Hi and welcome to day 4 of the Wrong Messiah video series. Our Bible reading for today takes place in Mark chapter 14 verses 1 to 11. It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus and steal and kill him, for they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." While he was at Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of nard, and she broke open the jar and poured the ointment on his head. But some were there who said to one another in anger, "Why was the ointment wasted in this way? For this ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii, and the money given to the poor." And they scorned her. But Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a good service for me. For you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand of its burial. Truly I tell you, wherever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests in order to betray him to them. When they heard it, they were greatly pleased, and promised to give him money. So he began to look for an opportunity to betray him. Amen.
Day 4 and things are starting to look a little bit different. What was full of hope on day 1 when Jesus the Messiah came into Jerusalem, hopes were high, expectations were high, that this man was going to do something, this man was going to bring peace, this man was going to rid Jerusalem and the surrounding areas of the Roman occupation. Day 4, and nothing is happening quite as they had expected. Perhaps some of the disciples were still hopeful, but at least one disciple started to think how he could spark things off, how he could make things work for the cause. Judas Iscariot was a fighter. He was one that fought against the Romans. He was part of the wider group who revolted against the Romans regularly. Yet, his new Messiah was doing nothing to help. The religious leaders, of course, wanted to get rid of Jesus. And Judas thought, well, perhaps if the Messiah is caught, he will have no option but to revolt, to strike back, to defend himself. I wonder how much someone would have to offer us for us to betray a friend. Judas Iscariot is offered his money that would become blood money. How much? How far would we go? Judas, of course, accepts 15 silver coins, and his one duty to betray Jesus with a kiss, to betray Jesus with a show of affection. What was Jesus thinking? What was he thinking that he would be able to spark so much? Yet at the time, he was just doing what a desperate man does.
As I reflect on Judas's impatience for God to do all that Judas wanted him to do, I reflect on my own journey over these last couple of weeks, and it's hard to believe that it's just been 2 weeks or a little bit more since the restrictions have been put in place and that we've not been together in the same way. And as a family and as a mom and as a wife and as a minister, I've reflected over these last couple of weeks, and I've journeyed through so many different emotions that at times just feel so overwhelming, and at times make sense, and at times don't make sense at all. And there have been many times, like Judas, I have just wanted God to act and to do what I want him to do, what we all want him to do, and just to heal and to take away this virus, to take away those who are hurting from it. I just want it all to stop. And as I have journeyed through all of that, I've came to a point of being a bit more at peace. At just being at home, not being able to necessarily do all the things that since moving to Erskine we've been able to do freely. There are times when I still miss our routine. I miss being able to get out and about with the kids. But there's been so much I've listened to and witnessed in these last couple of weeks that make me believe and trust so much more that God knows what he's doing. I want to read to you some of this book that I've been reading, and it just says these things. To fix our thoughts on Jesus is to close our eyes, to mark this moment by declaring our trust in God, to declare to God out loud like Jesus did, not my will but yours be done. To stop fixating on the circumstances raging around us, to stop trying to make sense of things that make no sense in the middle of the journey, and to stop asking for the knowledge that's too heavy for us to carry. That's why God didn't want Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The knowledge it would give them was a burden God never wanted them to carry. And maybe that's why we don't have all the answers about our situations. God isn't trying to be distant or mysterious or hard to understand. He's being merciful. We don't have to know the plan to trust that there is a plan. We don't have to feel good to trust there is good coming. We don't have to see evidence of change to trust that it won't always be this hard. We just have to close our physical eyes and turn our thoughts to Jesus, to fix our eyes and our thoughts on him. Say his name over and over and over. God doesn't want to be explained away. He wants to be invited in. And right now he's looking for someone, anyone, who will really call on him. And there are words that have really spoke to me this week and these last days as I've tried to understand why all of this is happening all around us. But it's in the moments where I stop trying to understand, in the moments where I just stand still and listen, that I hear God's voice. One of the places I've heard God talking to me quite a lot since lockdown has happened is through music. And one of the songs that have really spoken to me is the song Waymaker and we'll link the song to you as well. But the end of the song says, even though I can't see it, you're working. Even though I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. And it's an absolute beautiful song, and I really invite you to listen to the song and just take the words in and just what it means for us as Christians in these days. That although we can't see why this is happening, why we can't understand it, we can't see the end, and we all want the restrictions lifted, that God is still with us. We may not understand what's going on, but he's still here, and he only wants us to call out to him and to trust him and to keep our eyes fixed on him and on him alone. Thank you. Let's pray together. Lord, I want to thank you that we can call on you. Lord, in these dark and difficult days where we struggle to just to live each day restricted and in isolation from each other. Lord, we weren't designed to be in isolation from each other. We were made to be in community. And so, Lord, in these days where we are finding it hard, Lord, I pray that we will call out to you, that we will each day find our strength and our hope in you, and that we will cling onto you, Lord. So, Lord, I pray for everyone in Erskine right now, for our church family and those who are connected to us and those who are watching. Lord, I just pray that you will be especially close to them. Lord, help us in the times when we try to understand what you are doing. In the times where we just can't see where you are. Help us to know, Lord, that you are right here in our midst, that you are healing every heart, and that you are working in our midst, that you are here. Lord, help us to stop and help us to listen to you. Amen. Amen.